Well, once I give these words to the Adventists run immediately, and the Protestants run immediately, and they talk about the bad popes, the bad bishops, and the bad priests. You know, Christ didn't promise that all the popes were going to be perfect. He didn't promise that all the bishops were going to be anywhere close to being perfect. He didn't promise that all the priests would be perfect or anywhere close thereof. He just set up his church like he set up Israel, and there were good judges and bad judges, but nonetheless, they were still his people. And the same is true about good popes, bad popes, good bishops, good priests, bad priests. But they are still the household of God. So I'm going to address what Christ said about those in authority in the church who would misuse their place of authority. And it's not any prettier a picture for them than it is for those who persecute the church. So I'm going to address this. This is what Christ's own words had to say about the bad popes, the bad bishops, and the bad priests. This is what he says. Matthew 24, verse 43. But know this, that if the good men of the house, he's talking about the church, had known in what watch the thief would come, meaning Christ, he would have watched and would have not have suffered his house to be broken up. If the popes were doing what they should have been doing, they would not have allowed the Protestant Reformation, the church, to get into a place where the Protestant Reformation allowed the house to be broken up. They have not always been perfect. They have not always done the will of God. At the end of the age, if the church continues to be broken up because the good men of the house was not watching, he's in trouble because he's responsible. If the priests don't do their job, if the bishops don't do their job, they're in trouble. So therefore, Christ said, therefore be you ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man comes. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom the Lord has made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Notice it's called his household. Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he comes, shall find him so doing, preparing the church and giving him meat in due season. For I say unto you, he shall make him ruler over all of his goods. That's the reward. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my Lord delays his coming, and he shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looks not for him, and in an hour which he is not aware. And he shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. The higher in authority you are inside the church, the more damnation you get if you don't do your job. You know what it says here about the church being broken up? Christ prayed that his church would be one, that the world might know that Christ was sent by the Father. He prayed for them to be one. Unfortunately, the Adventists, and maybe a lot of sincere people and not so sincere people, they do it unwittingly, but they are doing everything they can to have the house which Christ established be broken up. So it's incumbent upon the ruler, the bishops, the Pope over his household to give them meat in due season. But woe unto him that starts making himself an evil servant, and to smite his fellow servants. In other words, to smite the people inside the church who want to do right. And he eats and drinks with the drunken. The Lord's going to come in a day when he looks not for him, and an hour when he is not aware. And he's going to cut him asunder and appoint him a portion with the hypocrites. You want to know about the pedophile priests? You want to know about all the bad priests? They're not bad because they pray to Mary. They're not bad because they pray to Christ. But those who do evil will be repaid for their evil. Just as if a bad policeman ultimately gets caught and thrown in the jail for the evil he does. Just as a bad judge will be judged by Christ for doing the evil that he does, so will the popes and the bishops. I hope that satisfies the Adventist Church. But dare not think you shall escape the judgment either, or anybody else who does evil. Clearly, Christ has openly and explicitly documented that he authorized the rulers over his household. And he doesn't say households, as in many, but he says one household, as in one, which is his. These words are written and intended for anyone with the intentions of destroying the church from within or from without. The household remains, and the ruler is judged by God for his faithfulness or lack thereof. The feeding off of the Catholic Church, which is Christ himself instituted, is nothing more than a bunch of rabid wolves seeking to devour the flock. Does everyone here understand the words broken up in Matthew 24, verse 43? Those who work inside or outside the church, he will get exactly what the evil servants get, weeping and gnashing of teeth. If you outside the church. Rejoice when evil prevails inside the Catholic Church. You're rejoicing over evil. Instead of praying for the church, instead of praying for the people to change, if you're in there rejoicing, gleefully telling the world how horrible the Catholic Church is because of its few bad bishops and priests, you're not saving yourself. You too have sinned. And what you have done in secret will be declared from the housetops. Unfortunately, those the wicked who do rejoice when evil prevails, they simply can't wait to get their greedy little hands upon the Catholics and make them a part of their own corrupt team. Woe unto them who corrupt the Catholic faith, no matter who they are.
The Bible is a witness to the church. It was written by the church. It was not written by the Bible. The Bible was canonized in 390 AD, and the church was formed in 33 AD. So if you belong to a Bible-believing church, then you better belong to the Holy Catholic Church, who was built upon the foundation of the apostles and of the prophets, and Jesus Christ being the chief cornerstone. If your church was built on anything else or by anybody else, then it's the wrong church. It's a hard saying, but it's the truth. Beware lest you give up your salvation and refuse to obey the commandment of God to obey the church, the commandment of Christ to obey the church and its bishops and its elders. If they do evil, God is not a respecter of persons. They will be punished. In the most scathing rebuke in Matthew 23, Christ laying into the Pharisees, and he said in verse 1, the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Do as they say, but don't do as they do. Even then, before the church came into being, in the old economy of the law of Moses was in action, Christ told his disciples to obey the elders of the Pharisees. Just don't do what they do. Christ always upholds authority. He will not let the sinners, the priests, the bishops, or the popes go unpunished if they do evil. You can rest assured in that. But neither will he let you go unpunished either. So, you want to belong to a church? There's only one that was built upon the foundation of the apostles and the prophets, and Jesus Christ being the chief cornerstone. And that is the Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And the Bible is a witness to that fact. For all of those who like to say the Catholic Church wasn't formed until 325 or whatever date they make it up, 326, 376, 375, 425, 538, whatever. They're all wrong, because Polycarp, the Bishop of Smyrna, from the book of Revelation, was taught at the feet of the Apostle John. The most faithful church writes in 117 AD. He writes this, quote, "The church of God which sojourns at Smyrna, to the church of God sojourning in Philemon, and to all the congregations of the Holy and Catholic Church in every place." Christ commanded his church to be holy. He commanded it to be Catholic. And it is, no matter what you call it. No matter what you want to say, it was separated, sanctified by God to be holy is, and set apart as holy, as much as the Sabbath day. And you can't undo it, and neither will he undo it. I hope you will go to my channel, listen to the other tapes regarding the Sabbath, the immortality of the soul, clean and unclean meats, and righteousness of faith. These are all very important scriptures that hold, and truths that hold eternal life. These are the words of life. They're not my words. They're God's words. You can choose to ignore them or not. You can choose to do whatever you want. It's entirely up to you.